Hello and welcome to another edition of Ontology Talk. I'm Adam Pease, and this is the second part of a series where I'm going to show you how to install the Sigma knowledge engineering environment. In the first episode, we just prepared a clean virtual machine on Linux. In the second episode, we'll actually get down to installing Sigma. Now I'm going to pick up where I left off in the first video. I've gone down to the Linux installations section of the Sigma key README. And we're just going to go through those steps so that I can have the screen up and still show you a big screen. I've actually got a duplicate off screen I'll be able to cut and paste from. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is creating some space for all the source code. So I've already got a programs directory. We can go there and we can start getting various things. We're going to get the Apache web server, or actually the Apache Tomcat Java web server stuff. So we're going to download that. Right, now we're going to get a copy of Princeton's WordNet lexicosemantic database. So this is essentially an electronic dictionary, and it's free. Very useful to run sumo with that. Probably do another video about lexicography and how that relates to sumo. We're also going to get a copy of the E theorem prover. And that will allow us to do automated inference with sumo under the Sigma key package. Okay, we're now going to expand all the things we downloaded. So let's get E. Let's expand Apache, Tomcat. Okay, now we can get rid of that zip file. It's kind of big. We're going to go to that directory where Apache is, and I've found I occasionally have some problems with permissions and haven't always really tracked this down, but what I do is I just simply open up the permissions to the executables, and that often solves those problems. So I'd suggest doing that unless you really want to spend some time tracking things down if you have problems. It's just easy enough to do. Okay, so now we can download the Git repository. Once we've changed back to this workspace directory, that's where I like to put Git. Now, one reason I'm doing this little tutorial is just that, programmers like to do things their own way. And so pretty commonly, people will change some of these steps. I advocate, at least install it once exactly as I'm doing it in a virtual machine, so you kind of know all the steps before you change things. Because usually the problems that people report back to me are just that they've changed a step and that's introduced an error. They haven't really understood how things fit together, which is totally cool. But it's really safer just to follow it strictly the first time, at least get it running. And then if you want to start changing things around, then at least you'll have a running system to compare to, especially if you have a running system on the virtual machine, and then you want to maybe customize your directories and your paths and so forth on your native install would be one way to do it. Right, so it looks like we've already got Git, so that's great. So now we can start downloading the repositories. So we're going to get both Sigma key, which is the program that runs sumo, as it were, or allows you to create extensions to sumo, do inferencing and so forth. And then we're also going to get sumo itself. Now, as it's doing this, I should point out that a running Sigma system has two copies of sumo. There's the Git repository for sumo, and then there's a separate directory which is the data for Sigma key. So you wind up sort of copying a lot of stuff from that Git repository into the Sigma keys directory, and that's the directory I'm going to create right now. So let's go back to the user home directory, and I'm going to create this program data directory for Sigma key, and we're going to change to that directory. We also need a KBs directory to keep the knowledge bases below it. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to copy a bunch of stuff over so that you don't get into the problem, essentially. If you're doing some edits over in the Sigma data directory, you don't wind up messing up your local repository, and vice versa. Okay, so we copy that over. Let's just change part of the prompt. I don't think actually we need to do that. Then we're going to copy over the configuration file. So Sigma keeps an XML-based property file, and there's a default version of that in the distribution. We're going to need to go edit that, but just for now, let's copy it over. So let's actually do that. So let's go to KBs directory. Okay, so there are all the knowledge bases. And now let's try editing this config directory. All right, so at the very least, we're going to need to change the user throughout to APs. Now, obviously, I could do this with a replace, but just want to make sure we've got them all, and I can sort of show you the various things that do need to be changed. This one's an important one, kbdir, that's the home directory. Probably not going to be using the Leo higher order prover, my guess. Probably not going to be using the logs, that's not too important. Let's see what else we got here. System directory. That I don't think actually gets used in the current version. Now here's something that we're also going to have to change. The Apache Tomcat configuration. So we downloaded 8.5 by 0.23. So let's just change that. Unless you're doing stuff with Professor Jeff Sutcliffe's TPTP system, TPTP parameters probably won't matter. I do encourage using both Vampire and E. So I've got paths to where we're going to put both of those theorem provers. They're both outstanding theorem provers, blindingly fast, well supported, been around for decades. Okay, so I think that does it for editing the config XML. And now we can move on to our next step, which is going to be taking care of WordNet. So let's take a look. Okay, there's WordNet, so we need to unzip it. And then we need to untar it. Okay, we can remove the old tar just to save space, and we actually probably should remove the old GDK to save a lot of space. So let's do that. Make sure we don't have to remove the directory, let's just remove the tar file. Okay, we're good now. All right, so now we've untarred WordNet, so now we need to go worry about the WordNet mappings. Okay, so let's do WordNet and the WordNet mappings. So Sigma has a copy of all sumos mapping to WordNets. It's a mapping from logical terms to words in the English language.
And so WordNet has a lot of pointers and data files, and so we're just going to copy all those over because they belong in the .sigma key directory. So this is a command to do that. Okay. All right, so now let's go worry about getting the E theorem prover up and running. So I'm going to go back to the programs directory. We're going to go back to E. E has a nice simple installation, but you do need to make sure that you've got good latest version of Make, as well as the GNU C compiler. So we're going to just make sure we got both of those things. Okay, we got both of those. And configuring E and compiling it is pretty simple. So first we type configure. Then make. Now we've made it, then we can install it. All right. I like to install the GraphViz package, so that lets you make some fairly attractive graphs of portions of the sumo hierarchy. So we're going to get that. All right. And now we're going to add a bunch more stuff to the bash RC, all of Sigma's environment variables. And the important one here, really, the most important one, is Sigma Home. So this is one that when folks sometimes do a different configuration, that's often what happens, is that they don't sync up their Sigma Home and some of the other references to where Sigma is located. So they install it in one place and then set the environment variable to something different. So just try to stick with this for now. I've also added a path to the source files for Sigma, the Git repository that we've just set up. This one goes to the parent directory. And then Apache Tomcat takes some options. I think I'm actually going to bump this up a little bit. Oops. Let's make this 7 gig. Be a little simpler. If you don't have that much memory, you may have to play around with how much memory you want to allocate, of course. Sumo itself, or Sigma itself, is Sigma key, when it's running all of Sumo, doesn't take up a ton of space. But if you want to go to the next phase and run the natural language processing tools, or you want to run inference, then it's going to take some more space. Okay, so we need a pointer to 8.5.23 of Apache. That's what we downloaded before. Now we can source those things. Now let's go over to our directory. We're going to need, I believe, a different repository. Oh, okay, we've already got it. Great. Update again, make sure we've got all the latest. Gonna have to get the Ant system, which hopefully you know about. Unlike old-fashioned Make, Ant's pretty cool, but there's lots of other systems of its sort for doing complicated compilations of non-trivial systems. But I find Ant pretty friendly, so I haven't changed in a while. Okay, and now, with luck, we can actually compile Sigma. Okay, and there we go. That is the process of installing Sigma. I'll do a follow-up video on testing it and maybe doing some additional configuration, showing you how it all works. But that'll do it for now. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Ontology Talk. If you liked this material, please like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And you also might want to go to ontologyportal.org, where there's a lot more information, including an opportunity to buy a copy of my book. Thanks very much.